Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Yes, we're back today to talk about Celtic, the aftermath of last night's game. Celtic, of course, picking up a massive and a hard-fought 3 points against St Mirren. But there's a few points of conversation that have came up after the game, and I'm going to try my best to talk about it in today's video. As tough as it might be with conflicting opinions, there's a few issues that we need to talk about. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, it'd be much appreciated. Now, before we go any further, there's one thing I need to ask of you today in this video, and it's to have a little bit of patience with me, a little bit of understanding. Now, it's a tough video to talk about some of the issues, and I think you know one of them that we're going to talk about in this video. And the reason I ask for patience is because we all have different opinions. People are on another side of the fence from myself and others. There's a lot of things that need to be discussed, and I can only get into it so far when I'm sitting in a room talking to a camera and there isn't someone to have a proper dialogue with. So I'm going to try my best to go through it. At times it might feel like a little bit of a rant or I'm waffling, but that's the art of what I do, I suppose. That's why you're here, to listen to me waffle. So we're going to try. Let's get into it, and as I said, like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, we've got a few things to talk about, and I want to start by actually talking about the game last night a little bit more. Of course, I've done my match reaction. If you haven't seen that, then it's on the channel for you to watch. It was up pretty late last night. But I feel like there's a few things we should cover after the game, because it seems like a lot of people are getting really carried away with what was a hard-fought win for Celtic, and ultimately 3 points. But we'll get on to that. Let's talk about a few things. Ultimately, I was pleased with the game. 3 points is the most important thing. St Mirren brought a genuine challenge to Celtic Park last night, and we were good enough to rise to that challenge and walk away with the victory. Came up with a very big goal towards the end. We left it late, but it's a league-winning goal. Those are the goals that separate you from finishing second, finishing first. And if it's the only goal he scores this season, it's one that's going to be really, really important. So it's good for him. I hope it gives him the confidence to move on and maybe find another few goals this season. But I said that point last night. If it's the only goal he scores this season, it's a huge one. So I appreciate it in the moment. I just want to see more from him. And there's obviously a few players in the park last night whose performances were called into question. We weren't exactly at full strength. Some of the changes to the side were maybe a bit questionable. However, some of the opinion after the game is getting beyond hysterical for me. This time last week, Celtic fans were unanimous in saying that we were in really good hands and that we were on the right path and we just went toe-to-toe with Atletico Madrid. Everybody was happy as Larry, you know? And only a week later, some fans have done a complete 180, changed their tune, flipped it to say that we're in trouble, that we're not doing well enough, that we're going to struggle. And it's just, you know, this is the age of social media. Some of the opinions that go out there, and when you're speaking, every passing thought that goes into your mind, I think some people will get carried away and go a little bit too far with it. And I feel like that's what's happened last night, because even I looked at my comment section and, wow, some people are really losing it. Where has this narrative came from in the last couple of years that Celtic should be beating every team 4 or 5-0 at Celtic Park? Where's the narrative came from that that's what we were doing over the past couple of years under Ange Postecoglou as well? It's not. It's simply not the case. And last night we got a very important 3 points in a game that isn't new, a result that isn't unfamiliar. It's something that we've experienced through the entire history of Celtic Football Club. Teams coming to Celtic Park and making games tough. I remember Brendan Rodgers' first spell at Celtic Park, that invincible season that we rave on about constantly. There was plenty of games in that season where we won 1-0, 2-1. We drew games. You know, things like that happen. And it's been a difficult week for Celtic. Dropping points at Easter Road and then, you know, narrowly getting past St Mirren last night. It's obviously not the top tier entertainment that you're craving as a Celtic fan. But that's the story of football. And if we won 4 or 5-0 every single week, yeah, it'd be great. But it's just unrealistic. It's cloud cuckoo land stuff. It's never going to happen. Celtic will go through patches no matter who's in charge, no matter who the team is. Celtic will go through patches where you struggle in games. And last night, that was an example of that. Is it a reason for us to rip up the tactics board, and is it a reason for us to start from scratch? No, but some people seem to be getting carried away and saying that's the case. I saw this stat, interestingly enough, on Twitter earlier on. I just want to throw it up on the screen, and credit to Wendy Diego who posted it. 23% of our league wins under Ange Postecoglou came by a single goal margin. 23%. So 1-0s, 2-1s, 3-2s, etc. And I never once seen the same uproar that we're seeing now. When we're going through a period of change, a period of new players coming into the side, and a period where ultimately you're facing a title challenge, there seems to be too many people. And I don't even think that this applies to just a younger element of the support. I think this applies to a broader extent. I think there's so many people that have lost touch in what being a Celtic fan and being in a title challenge is about, and just what competition is about. Just because St Mirren aren't the level of Celtic doesn't mean every single time you come up against them, you beat them 3-4, 5-0. Sometimes it is 2-1s. Sometimes it is 1-0s. And we've seen plenty of them with Ange Postecoglou, seen plenty of them with Neil Lennon, seen plenty of them with Brendan Rodgers, seen plenty of them with Martin O'Neill, Henrik Larsson scoring late goals to win us games. It's happened so much over the past 20 years, but it seems that some fans are creating this new sensation and saying that it shouldn't be happening, it doesn't happen, and what's going on. And it frustrates me, because once again, this time last week, we were all happy as Larry, and now everything's coming into question. The ability to steamroll a league and win 38 games out of 38, scoring 2, 3, 4 a game, beating oppositions by 2, 3, 4 a game, is impossible, nigh impossible. It's unfathomable, I would say. It's never going to happen. And right now, Celtic are going through a really tough run of fixtures where, most importantly, you need to get 3 points, and that's what we done last night. And sometimes it can be rough to watch, but it's always been like that. It's nothing new. And I remember at the start of the season making a lot of these same points when we were still adapting to what Brendan Rodgers wanted to do. Slowly and surely people were getting on board and were getting won over from the dodgier start to the season that we had. But it seems like now people are just waiting for that one opportunity, that one game, like Hibs, like St Mirren last night, to then start raising the same problems that we addressed. You know? I am fully confident that Celtic will go on to do great things this season. I'm fully confident we'll still go on and win the league. I hope so anyway, but it's going to be a tough challenge. You can't say that it's not a challenge. You can't disregard a challenge. You've got to accept that that's what following Celtic is and following football is, because without the competition there's really no point. St Mirren are third in the league right now, and they showed last night, rightfully, third in the league right now. And I just can't bear the thought of a season where, when there is the odd game, we win 1-0, 2-1, and the performance isn't polished to the perfect product, that we're going to face this same conversation every time, because it gets boring, it gets tiresome, and it makes the space a little bit more negative, when ultimately we should all be happy with 3 points. Just a reminder, this season we have went to the Tony Macaroni, battered Livingston, we've went to Pittodrie and won, we've went to Ibrox and won, and not even 2 full weeks ago we went to Hearts and scudded them 4-1. This has been a really good start to the season for Celtic, and I feel like there's more people on the side that I am here and not getting drawn into this narrative that seems to be getting created by a certain few. And everybody is entitled to their opinion. I'm not disregarding. If you don't think the team are playing that well and you don't like what you're saying, that's fine. Not everybody has to enjoy the same product. It's sport aside, it's the same with everyone. Not everybody has to enjoy the same product that's put in front of them. But I'm enjoying it right now. I feel like most people are enjoying it right now. And this title challenge that we may or may not be in, as we're still 5 points clear, is going pretty well in my opinion. We've not lost a league game this season. I think we should all just calm down a little bit. So I've said my piece on the first part. Ultimately, happy with the lads last night, especially some of the younger guys. You look at Yang, you look at O, you look at Odin Thiago Holm. These are all guys with 21, 22 years of age, 23 years of age, who are playing in big games, you know, title deciding games, and they're putting in really good performances. I'm happy with that. As I said, there are some players who I think are subject to more criticism, and rightly so, but I think there's more positives than negatives at the minute. So That's my piece on that. However, there's one other thing that we have to talk about. It's been the glaring topic of conversation this week. I've not addressed it on the channel because I really kind of wanted to avoid it, but I'm going to say a little bit now. A big part of the problem last night was the atmosphere at Celtic Park, wasn't it? Let's be real. I've seen some people lying to themselves and saying the atmosphere was great. It wasn't great. It wasn't at all. Fair play to the crowd. Obviously, I was there. I have a season ticket. Fair play to the crowd. I feel in the last 10-15 minutes of the game, we really did push the team on, and everybody sort of got that way where they had to push the team. But the catalyst for that was missing. The catalyst for that being the Green Brigade. And I'm not bringing personal opinion into it here for a minute, but I think that there's an obvious case to be put forward that banning them from the stadium does have a direct impact on what we see in the park. My personal opinion is that banning the Green Brigade, banning these very vocal elements of the support, does have a direct impact on the product we see in the park, the motivation and the encouragement of the players, and ultimately leads to us shooting ourselves in the foot. That's my personal opinion. Now, my personal opinion on why they've been banned can remain aside for a minute. However, I think we're at the point now where the club need to create a dialogue with these supporter groups, Green Brigade, boys, etc., and sort out what's happening. Because it's for the betterment of the football club. Opinions aside of the Green Brigade, opinions aside of ultra groups, these groups have an impact of what goes on in the stadium. They create an atmosphere. They are the catalyst for atmosphere. And without them, you see what happens. This isn't the first time. It's happened before. And every time it happens, Celtic Park, and don't lie to yourself, becomes a library. Because last night, that's exactly what it was. And there's no denying that. Since the banning of the Green Brigade, there has been statements put up by numerous supporter groups, the Green Brigade being one of them, of course. Also the Celtic Trust, who have backed the Green Brigade and called for the reinstatement of the group's season tickets. One I agree with, and one that I think should be addressed by the club. The club haven't put out a statement, a public statement. They have addressed the affected individuals whose season tickets have been banned. They have given reason for why they have been banned. And that's as far as it's went. There hasn't, from my knowledge, been a coherent dialogue between the groups and the club to sort this out, go over the issues, and come to a proper resolution. And I think the fans have been unfairly locked out of the ground. I know people don't agree with that. It seems the people who are on the other side of the fence from me will give it that, well, they deserve it because they think they're above the club. They, time after time, go against clear rules that are put out. They, time and time, go out and create trouble with law enforcement, with security, with different people in different stadia. And that's the reason it's came to this. There is an understandable side to why they have been locked out the ground, but it seems they have targeted an entire group, people who aren't even necessarily properly involved with the group because of where they sit in the stadium, and this is the situation that they've came to. But what's more annoying is it seems like the tipping point and the main reason for all of this is because of the Palestinian flag display which was given against Atletico Madrid, which to me is nonsensical. To ban the club, to ban the fans for taking a political stance in a football ground has always been wrong to me. To put it bluntly, it's been wrong. So many people are quick to say, keep politics out of football. Politics has nothing to do with football. You can't say that when the club that you support, Celtic Football Club, was found and brought to life through political reason. Fundamentally, this is a football club that was found through politics. It's always had a place in football. It has been the valve for working class people to have that atmosphere, to have that surrounding, to be with people like-minded and channel their similarities through an essence like Celtic Football Club. Nothing was wrong with the Palestinian banners, and what's worse is it wasn't just the Green Brigade who had flags against Atletico. And this isn't me just coming out standing up for them. You know, I don't have any allegiance to either the club, the people who run the club anyway. I do have allegiance to the club, obviously. The people who run the club, I don't have any allegiance to the board. I don't have any allegiance to the Green Brigade either. But I just think that it's very unfair that there was flags all around the stadium, fans in every section bringing flags in their own accord, and they target one specific group, and they ban them from the stadium when there was flags everywhere. It doesn't work, and I feel like Celtic have done it to shy away from the UEFA implications. People keep banging on about the fines that the club are getting. The same fans who say that's not coming out of your pockets, you know, and it's pennies to them at Desmond. And I know that might be a very black and white way to look at things, but I think some things are bigger than football. I'm not ashamed of my support or elements of our support showing, you know, a side in the conflict that's going on, because I ultimately believe we're on the right side of history, and I'm proud of our fans for showing that. But we're being punished for it, and I don't think it's the right way to go. It's a very divisive one, and the reason that I've not made a video on it is because you get so many people in your comment section and so many people that tweet at you and they don't agree with you and they suddenly think you're a bad guy or whatever. Listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion, your side, my side, whatever. I just think the club are going down the wrong route with it all, and it's creating, you know, so many negatives. And ultimately, I think the main negative is the fact that it's going to affect the players in the park. We're going into a run of games through the winter period, which is miserable enough as it is. Don't get, you know, pissing the rain, freezing cold, stadium's quiet. You know, it's bad enough as it is. We are shooting ourselves in the foot when we need that catalyst to give the team a lift in the ground, and it's not there. Whatever the problems are, and whatever the club feel the problems are, I understand. I acknowledge that there are issues and maybe breaches of what the, you know, the fans, the supporters, the Green Brigade, whatever. I understand they're maybe breaching some of the stuff they should be doing at these games. Create a dialogue around it. Speak. Sort it out. And I'm sure they can sort this. I'm certainly can, because they have time and time again. But it's ultimately just harming us. And I don't want to see a quiet Celtic Park. And that's my main issue with it all right now. And it's terrible because there's, you know, take that aside for a minute. Let's move on to the stuff about LeAba. The Israeli manager came out and he said that he hopes that LeAba can win back the Celtic fans, and basically implied that we all hate him because we support Palestine, which is absolutely nonsense. I don't know anybody who hates LeAba. I don't hate LeAba. I love LeAba. I think he's a cracking player. He's not came out and criticised, not came out, you know, he's kept himself to himself. Whatever his opinions are, I don't know. Obviously, I would probably lose respect if he was, you know, champion on a mass genocide, right? But he's not said anything. And because of that, I don't know any Celtic fans that hate him. But now we're getting stories like that, and it's becoming a very easy target for our club. I'm sure LeAba is eager to get back in the park for Celtic. I'm sure that yeah, it might affect him, but when it comes to the football, I don't think it'll let him phase. I don't think he'll let it phase him at all. But it's so annoying when you just see things like that, and you see these kind of interviews, because nobody hates LeAba because he's Israeli or anything like that. It's nonsense. I feel that I am I'm a political person. You know, I mean, I don't usually come on the channel to talk about politics unless I need to. I'm a political person. I feel like I'm a very socially aware person, and I'm never going to let anybody else's view compromise my thoughts on that. But there's so much into this banning of the Green Brigade and all the rest of it. You see the boys walk out as well last night in solidarity with the Green Brigade to show that they are, you know, standing with them. And just, you know, the longer this goes on, the more it harms the club, I think. And some people are happy to see the Green Brigade out. Fair enough if you are. I don't think it's good. They said something about supporter safety. You know, there's been a real concern about supporter safety. I don't know about you, but every time I've been in Celtic Park, I've never felt unsafe. I sit right above them. And I don't know anybody who's ever said to me, out of the, you know, all my pals who are Celtic supporters, all the Celtic supporters I've met that watch the channel, all the fans that I've been on buses with, to away games with, away trips in Europe, I've never once had a Celtic fan say to me, I feel unsafe. Never. And I think there's this sensationalism sometimes that when there's an opportunity to say it does, people act up to it. But it is what it is. Yeah, it's a tough one to talk about because I know not everybody agrees with my views. I know that not everybody aligns themselves in the same situation. Some people are purely there for the football and they don't care. But once again, I can't reiterate enough that politics and football goes hand in hand. It always has and always will. And that's honesty. That is the truth. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there because I think I've said enough. As I said, you had to be patient with me. There's so many ways to go about things and you don't want to say the wrong thing. And it can be tough. It can be tough. So if you've enjoyed, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Be respectful about it. Okay? See you next time.